Welcome back to another episode of aNERDspective, where I, Tony from aNERDgallery, sit down with friends all over the world to talk and to learn new perspectives around Indonesian textile art. Today, I'll be talking to Yetty Van Der Made-Haning, the Executive Director of Center for Cultural Development, the Netherlands. And we'll be talking about how she works on preserving cultural heritage of her hometown from all the way from the Netherlands. And without further ado, sit back, relax, and enjoy Yetty's aNERDspective. You can start with a little introduction of yourself.
Yeah, so I can tell you the story how I started with Ikat. In 2009, I was working as an affiliate fellow at the Institute of Asian Studies in Leiden University. And I was working on a very ambitious research project on maritime boundaries of Indonesia and Australia related to the Dutch connection in the past. Indonesia was a part of it's a colony of the Netherlands at the time. And my background is a lawyer. I was studying law and also development studies. So at the time, I was very much in the legal field. So I conducted that research, but unfortunately, that kind of research requires a lot of politics issues arise, especially when it comes to borders, right? Maritime borders, and how complicated Indonesian maritime borders with the neighbors and so on. So the research was not progressed very well, unfortunately. Lack of no funding at all. Wanted to support my project, so how can I survive to do a research without funding? And then not riots, but some indirect hands here and then. So I was I was in the time of debating whether I should continue or do something else. And interestingly, the institute where I was affiliated, they opened a new program or new cluster on cultural preservation, tangible and intangible heritage. So it was so funny. My boss and I was sitting down at chat, and he was asking about how my research going, and I told him that this is the situation. And then he said that, hey, by the way, we have this new cluster open, which we'll be interested to do. And I was like, oh my God, I have no idea how to start, because I'm a lawyer and working on development project, but how could I approach this project? So then I see oh, okay, I have a development project. I also have a legal background. Maybe I can look at that from angle. And of course, my father is a cultural anthropologist, and I always see him busy with writing book and talking about culture. He's always passionate. And I remember when I was teenager, of course, you're a teenager, you're a rebel of all this, you're against all this culture, and you just what I have to do with these very old fashions and so on. But then, you never know when you go far away, you were brought back to where you are originally from, and that's what I experienced. So then I said, okay, let me start with it. So I told my boss that if you talk about tangible and cultural tangible preservation, I remember that when I was little, I always saw this man, they carrying Ikat, they go to door, they're selling Ikat in house. But as I grew up, I didn't see them anymore, so I don't know what happened. That was only the starting point. And then I talked to before that, I talked to my dad. I said, by the way, I was asking, but I don't know what to do. And my father said, started with something that's close to you. And then linking me to these people who bring Ikat around. So I thought my boss said, that is a very interesting thing. And I started to explain how Ikat played a role in the society. Of course, I did from my father, and my father tried to, I said, maybe he didn't realize that indirectly he trying to push me to work on that, but I also didn't realize that too. But I was just listening to his story and then I told my boss that how Ikat played a role in the society in the past and so on. And then he was like, okay, why don't we start with that? So it was and then he sent me to Indonesia to do some research. And then I went to island. I was like, oh my God, I didn't realize that this is a very, very powerful in the past, unique culture, has a very strong embedded in the society. And you find in some, entity has a there is at least 599 islands belongs to one province of NTT. However, not all inhabited, of course, only main island like Flores, Sumba, Alor, Timor. And when I found out that like Ikat is in Sumba is very much strong preserve. So of course there are some declination also, but you can still find very strong preserve. But island like Rote, where I originally come from, is almost disappear. You know, almost Ikat there is available only those are made it from toxic chemical like Vantex and Naftol. And I go to Timor, the island of Timor, like there is a community called Boboti traditional community. They're still maintaining, but food. So there is of course there is a few who are still alive, but not find it away, of course, Sumba exception of Sumba and some part in Flores and some part in Timor, but and also some part in Sao. But in Rote and other, it is almost disappear and mostly only use these chemical dyes. So after that research, I gave it because during the research I had a research for like 6 months, but I also can come back to Holland. So I present to my boss and they said, this is a very interesting thing. We needed to study food. So then I was asked to organize a conference, international conference in entity to bring all the stakeholders from artisans, from designers, from policymakers, from academic, from international scholars. How can we come together to study and to do a workshop to see why this Ikat that in the past was so powerful as a part of the trade and economy and why this decline and what can we do to help to preserve, because artisans are still living on it in terms of trying to making it, even though they find difficulty with market and so on. So in the end, in October 2012, I coordinated a project organized by Leiden University, EIS. We collaborate with New York Craft Council, Asian Crafts Council in New York, and there was also support of one of the Dutch development funding agency called ICO, and then we also have support of not financial support, but of course support coming from different way, also finance and some other from Indonesian Trust Heritage in Jakarta. Maybe you know, they call it the PPI. And of course, then also I couldn't believe that there were so high enthusiastic of people, even scholars international. There were about like 18 countries participated at the time. So we held the workshop in the one island called Ndao. Ndao Island is a part of the Rote Regency. And that island people there is a craft people, like almost like in Bali, like a craft people. They only live from the craft, and but they do it seasonally due to the living demand. So if season of raining, they're planting, and fishing time, they're fishing. But women are continue weaving. And interesting, you know that I don't know. This is an old fashion that people think that weaving is not an economic activity. They consider that woman who doesn't have a job only. I don't know, in Indonesia they said you cari kutu, you're looking for your lives. Women are sitting down gossip and cari kutu while weaving. So you know this stereotype that's going on. So even there is in the local language from Dao saying that women do nothing and only let men going to work. You know, and while until today, those women in Dao, they are the one bringing economy through their Ikat. But how you see how they've been portrayed this way. So in the end, we did a workshop there. The outcome, the workshop was very successful. We brought all the artisans from all the entities came, and we discussed all what is actually so the issues surrounding lacking of natural dyes, lacking of market. They needed more of a discovery in a variation to make new pattern, new designs. And then also we also talked to the government to ask their commitment how to put more budget in to preserve Ikat and also to strengthen their department, because we also find that there are a few departments that working with Ikat but there is a lack of coordination. So, sometimes you find the overlapping of program, and then also this craft council association that have a very strong hierarchy from national side, like a national side head by the wife of vice president, and go to the provincial head by the wife of the governor, and then to the region head by the wife of the party. But then how this how this association functionally, because they are also not doesn't under the government body, while indirectly they have a certain power because the wife of certain figure, but then how they have to work together with this department that the head of the paladinas. So I see that this is something need to work along with that. So then after that, after the workshop, there is also a recommendation that how to work, but make sure that natural. We also ask the commitment of local government to make sure that the lacking of dyes and cotton should be tackled, because an entity until today they have to import it yarn from India or China, and then this imported yarn, because before coming to the artisan, the price is already hugely high, and then this complexity of who hold the yarn, so this is also like middleman. All these issues are coming. So we were discussing it. Then it triggered my interest that, okay, I think, like I thought to myself, I think until moving around the world, I find some way to bringing me back closer to home, that this is something that I can speak for a little while. So that is how I started with Ikat, and then later on, I still continue with, after the conference, after the workshop, I still maintaining working with the government, trying to bringing closer. I've used not I'm using, but the opportunity of the Netherlands connected with Indonesia is quite strong, because we cannot deny the historical, the length of historical connection between Indonesia and the Netherlands. And I'm at the same time, I trying to bring the artisans to the Netherlands to do workshop to get exposure in the Netherlands, and how to bring the Dutch designers to get connected with Indonesia. And that was going for a while, but later on I realized that, of course, EIS is an academic institution. They have a different approach, right? They are more on the study and research. But I'm a human rights lawyer at the time, that full of passion, wanted to help the artisans, to empower them, when you are young, you're full of, no, I didn't say that I'm old now, even though, of course, I'm not really in the teenager age, but at the time was completely different, especially that I was so passionate about looking at how the copyright, how Ikat artisans don't get the money, but where the money goes, this is a middleman, and all these issues. So then so I realized that I needed to do something independently. And at the time, my mind and my driven ambition was unstoppable. I just want to go on and go on. So I realized that, okay, I have to create something that I can do by myself. I can sweat by myself. I can be. So then I find my way. So that is how CCD-NL started. So I decided to establish CCD-NL about almost 4 years ago. And of course, building a new foundation, it is not easy, because first is funding, and secondly, staff. Especially if you don't have funding, you cannot have a full-time staff with you, because nobody wants to work unpaid. And then at the same time, we don't create a new slavery, right? We have to, if someone you want your organization to play just, and you also have to look at all those elements. But we are, thank God, that until now we have lots of interns and volunteers are coming to save the organization. So I must say, within 4 years now, we have steadily moved forward. Of course, step by step. I believe in slow progress that provide quality. rather than massive and bigger one. And I like to find my way myself in this. So either I'm struggle or either whatever, I want to enjoy them all and to then finally what is the true of my mission in this. So that is something that sometimes some partners, bigger partners also like to cooperate, and I'm happy to open for that. But when I see that the missions are not made, I always like to say that I do my way. I like to do my way, and then let me grow with it, and I see what is my true. I want to find my true mission and vision in this, and I hope it can continue. So that is how CCD-NL established. And then when CCD-NL established, we still working with the government level, like in Indonesia and the Netherlands and so on. But I also realized that there is, because my primary intention was to empower artisans. So then we have to do, that a project or program that can really have impact on them. So then when the crisis started, pandemic started. So then we said, okay, the plan to have a Ikat platform that aiming to serve as a gateway and also a catalyst to help the artisans was there already, but we are still at the time don't know how to implement it. But then Corona crisis started, so then we use it as a platform to launch it in July 2020. At the same time, we launched that project aiming to empower the artisans. So we work directly with the artisans. So in Indonesia, at the moment, we also with the platform, we also started with the artisans that we have been working before. So now, why we started with artisans, we worked before because it is also about trust. We wanted to build certain trust with them, and also they feel good to work with us. So we now working with artisans in Rotendao, Aji Regency, and we also in Alor Regency, and we continue with Belo. So these three group of artisans, we try to engage as much as closer with them. So we first started with this online platform. We started with giving like a webinar. So we give the artisans to exchange knowledge with Dutch artisans.
How many people of these artisans?
Yes, in the group of Rotendao, now they have 6 members. And however, Rotendao group is very unique because you know that Ikat, you don't find so many younger generation working on Ikat, right? This is also one also driven why we established this project. So Rotendao group is quite unique because they are youngsters that some even don't have knowledge, but they want to learn. So in Rotendao, actually Rotendao is the group that we established, and we guided and helping them. Not we established, but we helping them to format and themselves and then so on. So they now have 6 members, and we hope to grow, but no, we want it one step at a time in ourselves. And then in Alor is the bigger number. In the past, they have 75 members, but of course, the members are also declined because you know that Ikat cannot provide job opportunities and so on. So members are also declined and looking for different job and so on. So at the beginning, they have like 75 members, but now it's lower and lower and decline. So I think the active one they only have now is 40. Yeah, and then we also have
because of the pandemic or just in general?
The decline, it is already started before the pandemic. So the decline, it also has to do with the of course, Ikat, you know, that the complexity around Ikat, people, artisans, or even their products are not selling, they don't have money. So, but mostly I saw that the declination of the members due to the economic necessity of them, that they don't find Ikat can promise them, so they have to move to different job, like they have to do fishing, or some even moving to different areas in order to pursue life. And also Belu, they have 7 member but decline also, so now they only have active 4. So we discovered that the other 3 left because they moved to East Timor to find job there. Because so do you see, this is the complexity of how to manage. So this is the 3 group that we work with at the moment in Indonesia, and since 2019 officially join our platform, we organize first 3 webinars that we involve 3 groups together, talking with the Dutch designers, so Indonesian designers, that they discuss about the challenges and what they have to do. And interestingly, the rise of attention toward this webinar is quite successful. And after the webinar, we managed to at least establish a few projects now that I can tell you. One is Lab for Ikat. Lab for Ikat is a project that we wanted to do experiment in new dyes and a new fiber, because cotton is a very difficult to plant in entity, because entity is a very dry and cotton also takes long time. So we are trying to work with the local artisans, local experts, that what are the possibility to have new fiber based on the local, so that needed lacking of water and a short time to grow, and also dyes that how to tackle the massive toxic. And before I forget, one of our requirement for the artisans, if anyone wants to work with us, have to commit to natural dyes. If we found that you don't do natural dyes, we are sorry to say, but you are not part of us. So this is something that in that project that we are launching now is Lab for Ikat. We trying to do experimenting in finding new fiber and new dyes that can fit with the to serve that, to tackle the limitation of dyes and in entity for artisans. And then also the second one is reuse and recycle. So we noticed that most of the artisans, when they have leftover of fabric, they don't know what to do with it, like yarn. And so we also trying to work with the designers how to make use of that. Yeah, so we also always involve the artisans from the beginning of the process to let them know that the importance of the projects. And then later on, further we have a pan-European Ikat that we just launched recently, that still in the process of development. And this is, we are tackling how Ikat could be for the dementia patients. So we use art as art as a tool for health. So this is still in the development, and we also have a quite significant interest of designers and healthcare professional practitioners who wants to join the project. And the third one is, of course, training of trainers. This is continuously to make the one now already trained. We train them also through the platform how to strengthen their use to get a good natural dyes come out, or how to get Ikat designs, and also how to help them to create new motif based on their heritage. So training of trainers is continue. And then, of course, further studies and research about Ikat. We also recently have a research on Dutch connection in Indonesian Ikat. The research is still going on, and we are also trying to build a consortium that bringing experts from various fields to see how Ikat can be preserved for economy and cultures and so on, and also a research on crisis management, that through this pandemic, how we can help art and culture to create safeguarding for the artisans during the pandemic, and at the same time how they can come out of that. So of course this is an ongoing research. So of course with like cataloging, documenting, those are also continuously, because we also discovered that there are not so many cataloging and documenting information of Ikat. So those are the issues in the research, and that is involved directly entity Indonesian Ikat. However, you see that we also have program for Japanese and Indian, right? For Japanese, we started in 2019 with how to bring kasuri Ikat in kasuri is called Ikat in Japan, for wider public, wider audience. And we are still in the series of bringing webinars that how and by the way, we are going to have the third webinar about kasuri for future generation on the 2nd of September, if everything goes well, because now we are still looking for funding and we don't know how, but hopefully it takes place. And also for Indian Ikat, this is a bit of a difficulty for us, because it is a new established, and now the situation in India also during the pandemic is a very hard. So this is also the challenge of us. How can we make Japanese Ikat and Indian Ikat sustainable in our foundation. So lots of, because it's still a new, of course, it's different with Indonesian Ikat, because Indonesian Ikat we have already started more or less, even not by CCD-NL, but by myself is more than 10 years now. So it is understandable that the project is much progress compared to Indian Ikat and Japanese Ikat. But I must say, the Japanese Ikat is also coming closer now, because we can see that more and more engagement of designers in the Netherlands, outside the Netherlands, and also we see that embassies, related embassies like a Japanese embassies in the Netherlands or Dutch embassy in the Japan are also coming closer to support the project.
How do you actually have the idea of like involving Japanese kasuri?
Yeah, that is true due to the digging of history as well. When we do some research history, then we realize that the connections of this in Ikat prime during. Of course, we as a Dutch Foundation, of course, I'm Indonesian, but I'm working for the Dutch Foundation. So we started to look at the history of during the Dutch time, and we see that the connection of the Dutch with the India and the Netherlands and Japan, that affect Ikat as well. So we are trying to bring why we want to work with them, because we also wanted that the artisans can learn and share from one another how Ikat is preserved in Japan, how Ikat is preserved in India. One that make me really feeling strong to do this, or to do some comparison studies and learning and sharing from one another, that one of our artisans, our partner in India, when she went to Indonesia, come to her surprise that there is no even any cooperative that to help artisans with yarn and dyes. And this is, and in Japan and in India, that is something that commonly done. And also in Japan, like how they preserve the natural dyes and indigo. So of course we see the importance of how to learn from one another, not only for history, but also how in the future artisans can learn from it, and also from Japan and India can learn from Indonesia. So we use this platform as a sharing and learning, and also at the same time to market their product. So we in our website we also promote artisans products, and at the same time now we are trying to engage them, because artisans also, they want to have a new discovery of their projects. So not only in the form of fabric like this, but into different variety of products. But at the same time we have to study thoroughly to make sure that any product or any activities done doesn't destroy the integrity of Ikat, and this is not easy, right? So we also bringing it's an interdisciplinary work. So from anthropological point of view, from history, from economy, how far can we go without destroying the Ikat, and whether Ikat have to stay as a fabric like this and belong to museums. All these debates that we would like to have in this study, and at the same time also for the copyright, we call Ikat. Ikat traditionally meaning that you tie by hand, but now they also find Ikat that in the machine, in the fabric. How can you use? So this is of course, it is not going to be an easy study, but interesting studies. We wanted to explore further, and of course it's quite ambitious, but we wanted to have at least the result of this platform and the result of this pilot that CCD-NL wanted to commit it herself for at least 5 to 10 years to working close only with Ikat, not only with Ikat, but to do thoroughly studies from all aspects of Ikat if we want to preserve from culture and economy or crisis management, especially now that the pandemic, from copyright, all issues that how can we, of course, we might not be able to tackle all the issues, but at least some conclusion or some recommendation, in particular, how artisans can feel empowered of this project, of this work for them, because the most important that we want that their voice to be heard. We want that this fabric that benefit them by culture and also economy, because if they are economic crippled, it is also sad. We are doing not justice for them. You can see that. So this is something that, of course, we are not police to come to tell that you must do, you must do, but we open for discussion. We come through projects and we come to activities, and we look forward to scholars, to researchers, to designers, to makers who wants to work with Ikat. Comes, let's we work together and we find how can we work together, preserve this culture, bringing economy, bringing for future generation, while we don't sacrifice the integrity of Ikat. That is the aim. Maybe too ambitious, but we don't know. You don't know until you do it, right? Yeah. And we always trying to guide by our mission of protecting cultures. And this is also this is the further study for us. That's all from, maybe it's too long. Please ask
No,
question. I'm
no,
still have something to do.
yeah, no, I like the fact that the learning portion is not just about, a lot of like collaborations that I see is about combining two cultures into a product. But I think what I like is the discussions on, like, for example, the cooperative example that India
Mm,
see in
mm,
Indonesia. Yeah, that is like something that is uh learning points that
yeah.
we can take along. Yeah.
We said that learning lessons from the countries that we can adopt. Yeah. So we are also continue through working together, trying to reach with the government level, locally, nationally, or provincially, how that yeah, it is not an easy thing because we can also see that the demand to have, of course, when you go to shop and you find two products are similar and one is expensive and one cheap, maybe you go for cheap, right? I cannot deny myself also do the same the same thing. But then, yeah, this is a challenge. How can we make people to see the high end of a product and giving a bit of more money to a good product and also learning who behind this culture. Can you imagine this piece of ikat? An artisan takes them at least
Yeah.
months to finish. And it is not involve them alone. And compared to the amount that we share, of course, it is a lot of learning studies for us. How can we do? But then others will, yeah, the same also with the potatoes farmer. You can see the plant, the farmer, and how much they get, few cents. Yeah, so of course there is yeah, you talk about maybe circular economy or whatever, all this that we needed to learn, of course. This is, and I'm enjoying learning a bit of it. And I didn't say that we are an expert. No, we are only an organization wanted to bridging all these issues that how can we involve more interdisciplinary experts or scholars or practitioners. Let's we work together and we find something that we can help the artisans and maintaining this culture. That is yeah, and maybe yeah, I cannot say and imagine that, of course, the issue like copyrights and of course I cannot deny that I'm a lawyer, so I'm also driven in that way, but I also have to look at different angle, right? So I cannot just, okay, this is copyright issue, so you have to stick on it. But of course, through learning myself, also learning every day, I'm learning. I'm every my any new intern coming or any new staff joining us, I'm also learning from them. And yeah, as much as the how the organization growing to learn, I also at the same time learning and also from other staff as well.
How's the reception of the people in the Netherlands about Ikats?
Yeah, at the beginning, of course, not so many know about Ikat because batik is of course undeniable. Batik is more known in the Netherlands and in the world. But to be honest, through our when I started with Ikat, it was like an opening. Not me only, of course. There are so many experts already do because I'm not a historian or I'm not researcher particular in Ikat. I could call myself is like a project director or project management. I'm that is something like my expertise. Not I'm more have a more experience in that. But what I'm saying that when we started, of course, there are already a lot of works going on about ICAT, but it's quite of eye opening, and I also see that we can see judge from the our attendance during our workshop. It is increasing tremendously, and also more partners will wanted to work for us, and you can see that also more designers, more makers. So you can see that how the trends is getting. And then I also people started. I remember one of our partner designers. He also mentioned that there is a growing trend of ikat in also in Europe and in the world. So of course it's not through our work, but there's so many elements. But I could say that now, especially that more partners are joining with us, and the increase of interest of people to help, particularly especially when we create a project, the attendance, and then also the feedbacks, and we can also see that how our newsletter and blogs about ICAT, the increases of numbers of readers.
Yeah, I certainly enjoy the articles and the videos
Oh,
of the
wonderful!
training.
So good to know.
Yes.
Yeah.
There was once that I saw on the
Yeah.
heritage patterns. That was like a very interesting session to have
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
designers to work
Yeah.
with the artisans. But that was like through Zoom. How was that experience?
Oh, it was very difficult. You can't believe it. But yeah, thanks to our intern, the new millennial youngsters in using. Oh my goodness! Without them, honestly, we couldn't do anything. Because while we were do the zooming, someone electricity cut out. While we do zooming, one lost, and they see only Jane. Oh my goodness! Oh yeah, but we enjoy it. We get used to it, you know. So we all prepare that all the circumstances are coming. So of course, but now you know through this zooming, and artisans are also learn about how to use technology and media. So this is also both ways for us and also for them. It is not easy, but we are all learning, especially them, and they also enjoy it. And they also realize that with zooming and with any digitality, they can reach outside world, and this is the aim of us, our foundation as well, that to enlarge their network, to rediscovery. So of course there are issues like so many issues that I have discussed, but as I told you that it was difficult to organize, but it is manageable.
As you mentioned, it opens up opportunity through Zoom, social medias, and how is their craft is getting affected in terms of outreach to other people, or how?
Oh yeah. We also find that people interested in their ikat, especially the beautiful patterns of alor, rotes. Yeah, but you know now in the pandemic, we open a e-commerce site also, right, to sell their product, but unfortunately selling is not so much at the moment. It is not because people don't like it. It is just now, you know, many people losing job, and we can deny it. But honestly, we continue making an effort to make sure that their fabrics are sold, because that is their living, and it is not good feeling that we want them to continue this, but at the same time you see that doesn't bring economy for them. It is also not good feeling for us. But yeah, the world is struggle now. Yeah, so artisans have been always struggling like this, even not before pandemic, and now adding to pandemic make things more harder, because like the yarn and dyes due to lockdown, not many they don't get easily, and then also no tourists coming. So yeah, at before the pandemic started, they basically using direct selling, right? Not digitally. So this is also a struggle for them how to work digitally, but we also provide training for them. We help them to create account. We also in the social media, we also help them to registered, or also adding to different bigger platform. And then we also have one intern that now he is in Indonesia. He has the Ikat with him, so he also opened with the local market. So we try so many ways, and yeah, we hope that all the effort that we created and help for them, the help that we try to give them, it's useful for them. Yeah. So of course, so their exposure is quite big now. I just yesterday met our social media team, and then they said that they see that people click to our site is increases 80%. So you know this is really meaning good. But yeah, we hope that it goes into the buying also. So yeah, of course we cannot force people to buy, right? But
Yes.
at least exposure is there. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah, probably next in the customer journey of
Yeah.
digital marketing.
Yeah. But how is it? May I ask you, how is the selling in Singapore? Ethnical stuff like this, also like fabric. How is it the market in Singapore?
Yes. So similarly, batik is more popular
Yeah.
because the connection. Ikat is coming up. It's just that it's very niche market.
Yeah.
So either
that is
a
true.
collector or someone who is into textiles.
Yeah. So that is adding to that. That is why we trying to look at the possibility to bring Ikat into variety of products that may be enlarging the market, that bringing artisans and designers working together to co-create a fabric, a product together. So this is the project that I'm saying, that we have lab of Ikat, reuse and recycles and panyo. We see how it goes, but then thoroughly studies on how that this project protect the integrity of Ikat and the culture, and especially empower the artisans and fair fair paid for all involved, looking at the environment, not mass production, how all those issues that we want that these products are unique in that way. We want that CCD-NL collaboration this provide a unique product in terms of justice, in terms of environmental, in terms of high-end use, functionality, aesthetica. So of course, we will see how the products are. But we hope through these projects that we establish at least benefit the artisans and also can bring Ikat in a sustainable way in a variety of products. But maybe this will be also create some reaction, particularly from historical or anthropologist point of view. But we need to discuss about that, because we believe that heritage is not something that's stuck only in the past.
Yeah.
Heritage is also something that you can create today, right?
Yes.
So not something that you create in the past. So yeah, of course, new debates, new studies. I would love to open for new studies about that. So yeah. It's an exploring also, and
Yes. I mean, I have always been in a discussion because people tend to value old cloth, right? Vintage or collector's piece and what have not. But I think we are also kind of like not acknowledging the new creation. And for example, you mentioned about they are learning to come up with their own designs, which I thought that story is not as equally represented to value their creative mind and their creative effort, as well as of course the physical labor to make a Ikat is very long time. So yeah, it's definitely an ongoing discussion.
Yeah, that is ongoing discussion, that how the creativity being valued and being seen as also a kind of culture or heritage. This is something that, of course, ongoing discussion will be coming, and we are open for that too, So because we are culture and development, meaning that the development part is also part in our activities. So that is all our project based on that. Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely looking forward to
exciting stuff. We will announce that. So it's a very exciting project, but of course we will be depending on funding also. We are applying for fundings, and I mentioned about funding. Funding has not been always easy. You know that as a new established foundations, many foundations, not exception ourselves, also struggle with getting funding, especially that during a pandemic now is adding to. But we have to change the challenge into opportunities by having a creative mind, creative activities. That is what we are trying. We are driven to do so. Yeah.
And what are some of the challenges other than the pandemic, long distance, as well as funding? Do you have any other challenges that you might be able to share?
Yes, the other challenge that CCD-NL experienced, because you know that until now we are unable to hire a full-time staff. So in the end, we are mostly depending on interns and volunteers, and you know they are very short time. So that is also the bigger challenge that we have to for the sustainability of the project. But we also learning from that interestingly that CCD-NL has a lot of people applying to help, either as a volunteer, as an intern, also as a research, all kind of. So yeah, we are also sometimes receive numbers of applications. So we use that as an opportunity for us while helping them to understand what our work is, to train themselves, and also we learn from them. So what we do is that before an intern or a volunteer finish their term, we already recruit a new one. So we hope that the continuations to avoid the vacuum situation. So the main challenge, of course, first is funding, but secondly, also we don't have full-time staffs that to help us to work together to stand the project. And myself eventually becoming a full-time with full-time meeting this complexity of working with but I enjoyed it, and gladly I also have one colleague. She's a lecturer at the Bonn University, Julita Waituju. Of course, she's busy with her own studies and lecturing, but she's like my both of us in the front line to run this organization, but we are have enormous of help of interns and volunteers that unbelievable their commitment and their passions to do the work and their expertise from in every ways. That's even sometimes when I look back, I couldn't believe it that how CCD-NL can grow in that level, even maintaining constantly maintaining the work and produce a new project, assessing project in our circumstances. And yeah, that's what we say that change challenge to opportunities. And and I must say that there are many people outside there willing to help certain cause, especially things that aiming for helping community, empowering people, protecting, preserving culture. There are so many people out there wanting to help, and for them, we are grateful.
What are some of the ongoing projects or what's upcoming from CCD-NL that we can look forward to?
So the ongoing project at the moment is the one that we are going to have webinar about the Japanese kasuri on the 2nd of September. I hope it will take place as planned. And then the upcoming project is that unfortunately we would like to have the Indian Ikat webinar sometime. We close the year, but it doesn't seem to take place due to, of course, some organization matter, including also funding. And those are ongoing project. And then the one is that is maybe too early to say, but we managed to establish online museum. So just you won't believe it. So we are planning to launch a first exhibition in spring next year about Indonesian Ikat. And then so exhibition is not only a product but live exhibition, so you can also have virtual visit to see the life of the artisan. So I don't want to tell much yet about that because it's quite exciting, but so that is online museum that it's an ongoing one that we hope to launch it in spring next year, hopefully. Maybe the time little bit change, a bit of change of time. And then cataloging and documenting and researching, those are ongoing things that we are working on. And we are very grateful for one of our interns from Brody Molloy from Amsterdam University. She herself was an archaeologist and we had a very good cataloging. So this is exciting things that we wanted to show in spring next year. So
yeah, I'm very curious. How do you do that? So you have the production and you do it in the Netherlands, or how do you coordinate?
This is something that, virtually, so you can bring from all the corner of the world and you feel like you are in a one small village together. So we are still figuring out how it will look like, but yeah. So this is an ongoing one that we hope to launch very soon in the future. Is our own online museum with the first exhibition on Indonesian Ikat about past, present, and future. So we hope that we will also include, if at the time, the projects that we are working on at the moment already. Yeah. So there are a lot of ongoing things, and there are also quite a few of projects to do in the future. But the most important I highlight is that our webinar on the third webinar about Japanese kasuri on the 2nd of September, and then ongoing preparation of the launch of first exhibition on online museum. So you see, pandemic doesn't have to. So the pandemic shouldn't stop us from bringing creativity. In fact, pandemic bring us to the creativity. So yeah, maybe that we can answer.
Yeah, pretty much because we have got nothing to do except to think, be creative.
Yeah, then give you more time. Yeah, give you more time to sit down and to think. So yeah, so that is the ongoing one that I wanted to announce, that we are looking forward to the online exhibition. For the first exhibition about Indonesian Ikat, the story about past, present, and future. And then the immediate one is the Japanese webinar.
Yes, thank you so much again for dropping by today. I think before we close off our conversation, do you have any final concluding remarks for the future of CCD-NL or heritage textiles in general?
For concluding remark, I don't have yet because I'm also still learning and study how CCD-NL can. Maybe that could be also my concluding the remark that as
It's an
how
ongoing learning journey.
how CCD-NL grow one step at a time to learn, and what she has to focus, and what she has to sharpen. That could be that our step in the coming months and years, and at the same time, how the projects that we are establishing now benefit the artisans at large. And my hope for everyone, cultural enthusiasts, textile expert, and continue work in this area, because not only Ikat but for textile, it is a very something that we have to proud of, that it is not something that only belongs to past, but also for the future, and how we can empower younger generation to join in this effort. And of course, how Ikat can also bring employment. This is something that we needed to look at it, because in order for of course, economic is not always the main thing, but we cannot deny without economy also things hardly to preserve. So how can we empower younger generation to take part in this effort to preserve Ikat and culture around the world? At the same time, how can we during this pandemic we have a more creative mind, creative activities that continue to preserve culture through crisis, and also provide some safeguarding in terms of protect agriculture, and also for the recovery. How can we work on that, and at the same time how we all can come together, work together. Of course, it sounds ambitious because it is not easy to building cooperation. Building partners and cooperation is almost like you have your partner or your marriage. You know that. I don't know. I'm married, so I know the struggles. So you how to maintaining, and which of course with partnerships in the different forms also like that. So we hope that more people. My wish is that more people to study about culture, of a particular with Ikat. I'm talking about Ikat, and study about Ikat, do more research about Ikat, and how all these interdisciplinaries can come together and have some discussion and voice together. How can we together work to help to empower the artisans to preserve the culture at the same time? Maybe that's only my conclusion. I don't know how to make conclusion yet, because I believe that I'm still on the way. I'm not even half yet, so I cannot making a conclusion.
Yes, it's an ongoing learning journey. Yes.
And every day I'm learning a new things, but I'm trying to stick on my mission and vision, so I'm not going out far away from that.
Yes. Thank you so much again, Yetty, for dropping by today. I have like a fun time listening to you, and the fact that you are so far away from hometown, but in the end, like textile and Ikat bring you back, and you are working with that. So love the passion, energy.
It kept me connected with my roots. I would say like that. That sometimes, you never know in the world how your road brought you back. But I also don't know until how long I can work with Ikat. But at least I see myself from now until at least 10 years coming. I'm still in this effort. Probably I'm not on the top of managing anymore. There will be new generation. I hope that I have always like to have new generation to take part, but I would like to continue this journey for a little while.
Thank you so much for joining us today. If you like this program, do check out our interview with previous guests over on our IGTV, or read it all on our website www.aNERDgallery.com. Meanwhile, do check out our web store, aNERDstorebatik.com, if you find out more about products with batik and tenun. Of course, do follow us across social media at aNERDgallery and at aNERDstore on Facebook and Instagram to find out more about our future events and latest happenings. And until next time, stay safe and take care.